Hi everyone, it's me, J.H. Lillevik.
I realize I've been really inactive on the blog lately, and that's because I have, in the last couple of months, been working on a new job, and in addition, been writing on the book like crazy, trying to finish the book by August. And I thought I would give you guys a little treat. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that T.O. Monroe sort of gave me some really good advice and told me to either just rename the prologue Chapter 1 or write a new prologue and still rename the prologue Chapter 1, but because he thought it shouldn't have been placed in it should have been placed in a different place and a different time than the first chapter, which is now the first chapter is the first chapter, and it is the start of the action. And the prologue is placed in an area called Vren, or the Vrenian Consortium, which is basically a collection of volcanic islands on the outside the east coast of Zor. So I haven't been able to draw up any maps of that area yet, and I haven't been able to work really defining that area yet. But it's just an introduction to a player within the story, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm gonna read the prologue now and post it out for you guys, and you can tell me what you think. Hopefully you like it, because I've been working really hard on it. So I'll just read the prologue, and I hope you enjoy it. Ismark, the Marked Boy, by J.H. Lillevik. Prologue. Prince Haniel looked at the map in front of him. The large continent of Zor lay west of the first island of his beloved Vrenian Consortium, and up north was the last unexplored area of the Black Marshes and the icy continent of Ismark. He looked again at the message from his spy in Zor. The ice wolf is ready to strike. The council room was empty, besides from two of his personal guard and his ever-present servant Khan. The former slave turned assassin turned servant looked at his friend and master with thoughtful eyes. His small frame often fooled many and had saved the prince's life on many occasions. Being the high prince of the consortium's council often meant you worked up a long list of enemies, both foreign and domestic. The Vrenian had a proverb: the road to power is down a river of blood. You did not gain power on these harsh volcanic islands without slitting a few throats and burying a few bodies, and Haniel had a few skeletons in his closets, and the garden, and the harbor. His father had been a member of the lower gentry, but he and his sons were blessed by the golden god with wits and swift tongues. There was not a thing Haniel and his brothers had not talked their way out of. Well, almost not a thing. There were only 3 left. 2 of Haniel's brothers had been lost to the last powerful family to occupy 3 of the 5 council seats. But now only one of them was left, the crippled Faran. Haniel knew that Faran hated him and his 2 brothers, and it gave him great pleasure every time he could trip up a plan that Faran had invested great resources and money into. This was not one of these times, though. The reports from the Saurian Empire was clear. Zor was planning something, and this could be detrimental to the Vrenians, who had spread across the eastern islands, the only thing left of the ancient mythical golden continent, the place where the gods once had walked with mankind and had given them laws and purpose. Now the gods have not been seen for a long time, and sometimes Haniel would doubt they were still with his people. Those times he would go to the golden temple and pray, but rarely would his prayers be answered. He still did it, and he had after risen to the highest post in his nation. If you stare any more at those maps, you might go blind. Haniel looked up as the familiar voice almost startled him. His younger brother Mark stood before him in full battle gear. Like his brother, he had brown hair and grey eyes, but unlike his brother, his face was marked by all the fights and the battles he had purposely sought out. They had both passed 30 years in this world, but his younger brother still acted as though he had just entered into manhood. Haniel smiled at him. It would behoove you to learn something of the nations around our own, at least so that you can fight them better. The younger prince smiled at his brother. I'll learn what I need from their women. The two laughed and clasped hands together. Daniel was dragged into a bear hug by his younger brother, and he was surprised how much stronger his sibling had gotten. The years at sea had obviously done him more good than his father had thought. When did you get back? They both sat down around the council chamber. Khan brought the two some East Sorian wine and a couple of cups. Mark emptied his cup faster than Khan could fill it. The younger brother looked at the scrawny servant. Kill any good assassins lately, Khan? The servant smiled shyly. None worth mentioning, my prince. The younger prince roared with laughter. He looked at his older brother. This one is worth his weight in gold, skilled with a blade and no ego whatsoever. Haniel smiled at his brother's compliment. Would you like to sail the western seas with me, kill some Saurians and plunder their treasures? Khan bowed at the prince. I would be honored, my prince, but your brother has my loyalty. Mark looked at his brother. And loyal as the rock the golden god put us on. Haniel nodded at Khan, and the servant disappeared into the shadows of the council chamber. Only his brothers knew about the worth of his servant and bodyguard. Other noblemen saw just another servant, and a lot of them had done so to their peril. Mark leaned in and looked intently at his brother. Why have you called this meeting? The high prince leaned back and looked at the door. Footsteps could be heard outside. I will let you know as soon as the others have arrived. The door burst open and one nobleman entered the council chamber. He was a tall and blond man. The other noblemen often referred to him as a half-breed, because he was half Ismarkian, and he was paler than the other island dwellers. He, Knut, was named after his father and had inherited his father's frame, but he had his mother's wit. And he climbed faster than any other of the princes, even faster than Haniel and his brothers. Haniel respected the man, and he knew that without his two brothers he would be lying in a harbor somewhere with Knut's knife in his back. Well, two of the brothers are already in place. The blond prince was grinning as always. Haniel thought the man would never cease finding life in general as a huge joke, and he could never understand how the blond prince could be so happy all the time. The two brothers got out of their seat and walked up to the third prince. Knut offered his hand to the high prince in the traditional manner to show he had no hidden weapons, and Haniel clasped his hand over the other's forearm to show trust. The blonde drew his superior close to him and slapped him across the back. "It's good to see you, my prince." Knut let Haniel go, and they went to their designated seats. Knut was the master of trade, and he sat at the right side of the high seat where the high prince sat. As masters of the fighters, Mark sat at his brother's left, and as they sat down, the third brother, Morth, seemed to materialize from the shadows. Knut jumped as he noticed the slim, almost skeletal brother. "Prince Morth, you need to start wearing a bell." The man, dressed in a monk's outfit, smiled at the remark. Haniel knew that his brother probably had been waiting for a long time before revealing himself. He had learned a lot from his time with the mystics, and spoke rarely more than he needed. Now he was the mystic's master, and he had a huge network of spies almost anywhere. His information was vital to the Rennian Consortium's recent successes, and he was fiercely loyal to his older brother. As a very sickly child, Morth had spent most of his childhood reading, while his older brothers had spent their time fighting, whoring, and drinking. Haniel loved his brother, and he had done his best to protect his brother from violence. It was his idea to let Morth study with the mystics of the Golden God, and he was happy to have the secrets of their god in their family. "I will consider your proposal, Knut." The slender mystic sat down right next to his brother. Mark was Daniel's closest friend, but he always kept his youngest brother closest to him. He trusted Mark, but he trusted Morth even more. The blonde prince smiled at the mystic. "How is our god these days?" "He fares well, as always. He asked me, in fact, to ask you if you could sacrifice as much to his temple as you do to the temple of your father's gods." The blonde prince laughed. They always did this. The verbal jousting between them was often a welcome relief from the tension within the council chamber, and on most days Daniel would just let them continue, but as of late the reports from the shores of Sor had him very worried, and his mood suffered. "Could we please have the theology debate some other day?" The silence spread across the chamber. Knut put his feet on the council chamber and leaned back. "So, where is the cripple?" As he said it, the noise of wheels on stone could be heard in the hallway leading to the chamber, and the wheelchair carrying Ferran came into view. It was being pushed by the silent bodyguard of Ferran. He had lost his tongue as punishment for the failure to protect his master from Daniel's machinations. Since then he had always looked upon the brothers with hate in his green eyes. The huge mute had remained loyal to his master, and had stayed by his bed as he returned back to life from whatever hell the Golden God had sent him to. Haniel had heard rumors that Ferran had cursed the Golden God and sacrificed to the darker gods of the past, but that were Morth's realm, and as long as his brother did not approach him with any reports of the matter, he let the rumors remain only rumors. "Why have you dragged my body the entire way from my very comfortable bed on the other side of the city, my prince?" The words were filled with venom, but Haniel had no time for the usual bitter exchange of insults the two would often engage in at the council meetings. "Please, Ferran, we have more important matters than our families feuding to discuss." The crippled prince was fuming now. "Feuding? Is that what you are calling it now?" The blonde prince spoke in a humorous tone. "Maybe you should retire from politics if you can't take the consequences of it." Knut evidently loved this. If he could reignite this feud, he might be able to climb a couple of steps closer to the throne. Any conflict the Rennian family was not involved in was always good for that family. Enough! Daniel's patience was at an end. Morth sat silently regarding his brother. Haniel knew he had the same information as his brother. The Saurians are once again rebuilding their army, and they are building huge ships in their eastern ports. The other princes were listening intently now. They, as Haniel, knew what that meant. Knut was the first to speak. Would they dare to attack us as well? The crippled prince shook his head. They have always respected our 200-year-old treaty. Why would they start attacking us now? Morth looked at Varan. They have a new emperor, one who is more fervently steeped into their ancient history. He believes, as their entire clergy does, that he is Sor reborn. He has not just taken the name Sorn. He has also started rebuilding their ancient temples, tearing down the ancient icons and replacing them with his own graven image. This was more than Morth would usually reveal about his knowledge. Haniel looked intently at his brother. The mystic drew breath and continued. Every time one of their emperors has that belief, they have expanded their empire, and we are the closest to the east of them. The council chamber became as silent as a tomb. Mark looked at his brother. We must fight back. Haniel sighed. We do not have their numbers. The crippled prince almost seemed to love this. Well, what would you have us do, my prince? Haniel looked at the map. He looked at the northern continent. There is only one choice left to us. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed reading it, and let me know how you think this prologue sounds. The names might have been a little bit differently pronounced during my reading now than I had intended, but I'm still working on the pronunciations of the different names. The character Prince Daniel is named after one of my best friends who died back in 2011 during the filming of a film that actually premieres here in Norway in August. So that is sort of my way of showing my respect to him. I hope you guys enjoyed this little read through, I guess, and let me know if there's anything that you find less than pleasing. And have a nice night and a wonderful summer, of course.